I'm not going to let this 315 define me. I have the choice to let this 315 impact my entire day if I so choose. I could look at this and say, well, cool, my blood sugar was 88 for the first 12 hours of the day, and then suddenly I eat and my blood sugar goes to the moon. Well, I'm a failure. Everything sucks. I hate everything. Welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast, where we take all of the mysteries of blood sugar control, focusing on nutrition, exercise, and any of the other 40 plus factors that may impact your blood sugar. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Zeal. I'm a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, strength and conditioning coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years. And I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode. What's going on? Welcome to this episode. And I really want to talk about a topic today that I feel like gets a lot of love, but there's just a huge chunk of it that's missing. It's kind of like you start watching a movie and you get halfway in and it just stops. Wouldn't that be terrible? You've sat there, you've invested 50 minutes into this movie and you're finally getting into it and you feel really good, and suddenly the movie just stops and there's a technical error that craps out and it's like the end, subscribe to keep watching, one of those types of things, right? And this topic would be the whole concept of not being defined by your blood sugar. And I'm sure you've heard it before if you've been in the diabetes social media space at all. And other people have talked about it. I've talked about it. And there's even people who have gotten the symbols tattooed on their forearms or on their arms or different body parts. And there it says, I am greater than my highs and lows. And it has an I, it has a greater than sign, and then an up arrow and a down arrow. I am greater than my highs and lows, which as people living with diabetes, we have blood sugars that are going to bounce, whether we have the best intentions or whether we have the worst intentions. They're going to bounce regardless. Ideally, less bouncing is better, but none of us are perfect, type 1 or type 2. And here's the big thing about that is I am full agreement. I totally agree. We are greater than our highs and lows. We are not going to allow ourselves to be defined by our blood sugars. But the biggest thing there that people just lose sight on or they just forget about is in the moment where your blood sugar is 315, the way mine is right now, because I just had a site that had a little crimp in the top of the catheter. The cannula was just teeny little bit bent at the way edge of it. Well, I think I use a 6 millimeter cannula, and I'm talking like the top 2 millimeters had a 30-degree bend in them, and my blood sugar just went from cruising at 88 all the way up to 326, and now I'm finally on my way down, which happens to the best of us, right? But really, how can you absorb, how can you embody the I am greater than my highs and lows during an instant like that? Because that's no joke. That is no joke at all. That's a situation where you have to be thinking on your feet and you can't be just sitting there. Oh yeah, you're most likely, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong here and maybe I'm making an assumption that's incorrect about you, but more than likely if you're 325 or you've been 315 and you see an up arrow, you're probably not thinking, yeah, I'm greater than my highs and lows. It's okay. You're probably thinking, what in tarnation happened and how do I get my blood sugar to become better again? So there's a couple things here, and I'll go back onto the greater than highs and lows type of thing because I have another point I want to make with that later. But the big thing I want you to really absorb here is, yes, you're greater than your highs and lows, but what do you do in that instant when you're 317 with an up arrow, or when you're on the opposite side, right? You're 57 and you have a down arrow and you feel like absolute garbage and you want to eat the entire fridge. Saying you're greater than your highs and lows is nice, the same way that reading mantras in the morning is also nice, and starting your day with a positive affirmation is fantastic, but it doesn't do anything in that instant for you. So what can you do from an action standpoint? The biggest thing that I really emphasize with patients that I work with people on social media at times, is what I call ARM, right? Acknowledge, respond, move on. Keep it simple. Don't try to do anything crazy, right? So let's just use the example of this blood sugar that I just had where my cannula was bent and my number starts screaming upward. It literally looks like on my Dexcom, it looks like a roller coaster right now. So what did I do in that case? I looked at my number. I had seen I had double arrows up, but I had also eaten. So I figured it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes I eat and I go up pretty quick and then I level off pretty fast. Well, it didn't level off. It just kept going. And so I'm peeping at it probably every 20 minutes or so. What's going on here? And it just keeps going and going. And so I get past 200. So I have a little bit of a, something's going on here. Then it goes past 250. Now I'm starting to think, okay, what's going to happen next? Then it starts to hit 300 and I realize, all right, show's over. That's fun. So I acknowledged the blood sugar. And by acknowledging, I'm talking, I didn't react with any sort of emotion. Because once you start bringing emotion into it, everything goes out the window. When people are in a stressful situation, and I'm sure there's research to back this up, but I've seen this in many, many, many people. I've worked with, well over 1,200 people myself, and with my team, it's probably close to 2,000 at this point. And when people are under duress, when people are under stress, or even think about in your own life, when you're in a very high stress situation, it can be blood sugars, could be your kids running around naked down the street and you need to make sure you catch them, right? Whatever it is, you're going to revert to whatever is internally programmed in your body and in your brain. So in this case, if your blood sugar's 315 and you're immediately going to the emotional side and you're freaking out, you're done. It's over. You're going to resort to whatever you normally instinctively would do, no matter what you've been trained, no matter what you've been told. Doesn't matter if you worked with a dietitian or not, unless that stuff is woven into your subconscious and woven into the fabric of your being. You are going to revert to whatever that thing is. That is why, on a separate note, for example, when you get people that have been on a weight loss journey, they've been on some sort of fitness kick, and something happens and they get stressed, it's the first thing that goes out the window is what they've been doing as of late, because they revert back to what they've done before. I won't bore you with examples on that, but I've got plenty and plenty. But with this particular blood sugar thing, the goal is when you see that number, and I don't care if you see this number at your 97, I don't care if you're 297, I don't care if you're 37. The goal is to see this number without any emotion behind it. It is simply a data point. It is a data point the same way that somebody without diabetes is going to have their blood sugar as a data point. It's the same way that you can look at any number and without any context, it has zero meaning because we are the ones that provide the meaning to it. If I tell you 3:15, you're probably like, okay, cool, 3:15 what? 3:15 p.m., 3:15 a.m., what's going on? And I say blood sugar 3:15, you immediately go to, holy cow, that's bad. But notice how you just said that that was bad. If I said $315 and I'm going to hand it to you, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Same type of thing. So you're giving the meaning to it. So that being said, acknowledge it. Take the meaning out. Completely eliminate any sort of emotion behind it. Cool, my blood sugar is 315 in this case. Let's see the newest update while we're here. Oh, now I'm 294, so that's cool. But it's cool because I'm watching it trend down. Notice I gave the meaning to it there. Respond. So what are you going to choose to do in that instant? And sometimes the first response is, and just taking a deep breath and getting some oxygen to your brain and letting your brain settle for just a half a second so you can respond in an appropriate manner. So, all right, my blood sugar is 315. It's clear that something's going on. It just kind of happened in the span of an hour and a half. So more than likely, to me, that indicates that something's wrong with my sight because I dosed appropriately for the food that I had, and it's very similar to the food I eat on a normal basis. So in that case, I immediately went to change my sight. Lo and behold, the top of it is bent, and that was likely my answer. Before I did that, however, and this is your bonus fun of how I personally respond to high blood sugars, I took Afrezza, which is inhaled insulin, just because it hits really, really fast, so it could help bring my blood sugar down. And then in addition to that, if let's say you don't have that laying around and your number's super high, you may want to consider, hey, let me take an injection first. Because if I don't trust that my blood sugar, I don't trust that my body is receiving some form of insulin for whatever reason, I want to make sure there's something on board here. Rather than just dosing with the site that may or may not be working, it's like playing roulette. I'd rather know, okay, I just took 2 units and I'm fine. Or at least I have 2 units in my system. So that's why I jumped to the Afrezza. Then I changed the site. You do those 2 little tweaks. First of all, a lot of the highs will be different, but acknowledge, respond, right? I acknowledged it. All right, my number is 315 in that particular case. What could have the issue been? Respond. Took the Afrezza, so took my correction that wasn't related to my pump in this situation, changed my pump site. I've got my handy dandy water bottle over here. So I've been drinking water and hydrating. Water tastes so good right now. But I've got my water, and now it's just a waiting game, right? Now it's let's just keep peeping in what my number is periodically, because then it's M, move on. A-R-M. M is for move on. Go live your life. Do what you want to do. You may not feel 100%. You may not want to do everything that you need to do in that moment. You probably feel like, in my case, I feel like I want to curl in a ball and take a nap. It'll be great. You can hang out with Roscoe P, the diabetes alert dog, who probably would be going nuts if he was sitting in this room right now because he'd be pawing the living bejeebers out of my leg because he'd know my number's high. But just because I feel like that doesn't mean that I'm able to go curl up and take a nap. But just give yourself some grace. Recognize, hey, my number's high. I've done what I need to do. It's coming down. I trust in the process. If I need to adjust later on, maybe it's been 90 minutes and my number hasn't really done much. Great. Now I can acknowledge, respond, and move on again. So as you can see from here, it's really twofold, right? The first side of it is, okay, wonderful. I'm greater than my highs and lows. I'm not going to let this 315 define me. I have the choice to let this 315 impact my entire day if I so choose. I could look at this and say, well, cool, my blood sugar was 88 for the first 12 hours of the day. And then suddenly I eat and my blood sugar goes to the moon. Well, I'm a failure. Everything sucks. I hate everything. Life's terrible. And what's going to happen? It's now going to frame the entire rest of my day as life sucks. So it's probably going to suck because I'm putting that out into the universe. And then in addition to that, it's not going to help me feel any better. I'm just going to start being extra attentive to how crappy I feel instead of paying attention to how awesome I feel and what good things are going on. So that would be the thing. You're greater than your highs or lows. You're not defined by your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is not you. It's like saying you go to a bowling alley and you go with your pals and you get a 127. You're not defined by that 127 score in bowling, right? Or maybe you got a 67 or maybe you, whatever it is, right? That would be the equivalent of defining yourself by your bowling score. Oh, I went bowling and my score sucks, so therefore no, it doesn't matter. If you decide I really want to become a great bowler, you'll go more often. You'll figure it out. If you want to get really good with your blood sugars, you'll start paying more attention to your numbers and attacking trends and working with a registered dietitian. You might know a good one. Cough, cough, wink, wink. That is all it's going to take is you just, where the attention goes and the energy goes, that is where you are going to see changes in things. So I'm bouncing all over a little bit, but the reality is here, you're not your number. You are not your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is not you. You never have been just your blood sugar. You are the person that you are. You decide the meaning you choose to give to your blood sugar. And then, of course, just if something does go awry, acknowledge it, respond, move on. Done. End of story. El fin. El final. That's it. It makes life so much easier. And yes, give yourself some grace. You're going to have days that may not be amazing. You're going to have those days where periodically your blood sugar is 38% in range and you're bouncing high or you're bouncing low and you're on the roller coaster. And recognize that gratefully, you have survived 100% of your worst diabetes days. And also recognize gratefully that just because today was maybe a dud doesn't mean that the entire rest of the week has to be a dud or the rest of the month or even the rest of the day. Like, as I check in right now, I'm still coming down slowly but surely, but recognize I'm not going to allow that to impact the rest of the day. I'm not just going to say, oh, well, there's still time today, but my blood sugar went high, so screw it, I'm done. Like, no. Hey, my number had an issue. My number had a hiccup. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. I fixed it and I moved on. That's all it is. Don't give the diabetes the power. Take it back. You deserve to take it back. Just grab it and say, this is my life. If you want to be the person in the passenger seat, diabetes, go for it. But I'm the one driving the car. That's all it is. It's all how you view it. So let me know for sure. Let me know. Do you let diabetes run the show? How do you respond to your highs and your lows? Do you feel like you're greater than your highs and your lows? Definitely let me know when you watch this. Tag me in a story. Let me know. Hey, at Man of Zeal, MANOFTZEEL. I'm greater than my highs and lows, or maybe I'm not, and I struggle a little bit with it. But recognize it will get better. Where you pour the energy into is what you're going to see the improvement in, or at least the changes in, ideally positive. And now you have a strategy for if your number does go high that you can use to bring it down in a way where you're not letting emotions kick over. You're not letting emotions take over. You're not letting yourself get out of hand, and everything ideally will return back to normal. That's it for today's. I'm super, super hyped. Definitely let me know how you're feeling about this. And of course, if you need support, you're living with diabetes or living without diabetes, you just happen to enjoy listening to this, and you want that support on the blood sugars, you want to get stronger, you want to drop some weight, you want to have a better relationship with food, then we are here. My team of dietitians and I are here to help support you. We may even accept your health insurance, so definitely happy to look into that for you. Just pop on over to yourdiabetesinsider.com or shoot me a text, 813-649-3081. Let me know what's going on. Happy to see how we can help you. And with that, I'll catch you soon.